Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Electoral Act Amendment Bill passes second reading in the Senate. Federal government unveils grassroots economic plan for the 8,809 wards in the country. Venezuela's Maduro says country has 5,000 Russian missiles for air defense. And Osimhen, Salah, Hakimi top CAF Player of the Year nominee list. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the controversial $460 million Abuja closed-circuit television (CCTV) project, following renewed public concern over the persistent insecurity in the nation's capital, despite the huge investment. At plenary on Wednesday, the House set up an ad hoc committee chaired by Donald Ojogo to probe the contract's implementation and the continued repayment of the Chinese loan used to fund it. The decision followed a motion of urgent public importance moved by Amobi Oga, who expressed concern that despite the project's goal of enhancing security in the Federal Capital Territory, it has failed to deliver tangible results. Oga recalled that the Goodluck Jonathan administration initiated the CCTV project in 2010 to curb rising insecurity in Abuja by installing surveillance cameras at strategic locations following a loan agreement signed in Beijing by a Nigerian delegation led by then Minister of Finance, Dr. Olusegun Aganga. He described the situation as a lose-lose nightmare, noting that Nigeria continues to repay the Chinese loan for a project that has yielded no visible benefits.
The House more concerned that despite this huge investment, as well as the financial burden Nigeria is subjected to by way of servicing this loan, the impact of the CCTV is not felt in any manner. Rather than abating, crime rate has soared in Abuja, leading to daily reports of deaths arising from unmonitored crimes around the Federal Capital Territory.
The House mandated the committee to uncover the status of the contract, determine the level of implementation, and assess the functionality of the CCTV system and report back within 4 weeks. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025, proposing to place the burden of proof in election petitions on Inec, has scaled second reading in the Nigerian Senate. The passage of the bill, which seeks to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process, was announced by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during Wednesday's plenary, after a majority of senators supported it through a voice vote. Sponsored by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, Simon Lalong, the bill was initially presented for second reading last Thursday, but was stepped down to allow for wider consultation. Lalong, while presenting the bill, acknowledged that the Electoral Act 2022 introduced significant reforms, but also revealed certain weaknesses, such as delays in the release of election funds, disputes over voter registers, conflicting interpretations of results transmission, and weak enforcement of electoral offences. During debate on the bill, lawmakers argued that the current position of the law, which places the burden of proof on the petitioner, is unfair and undermines electoral justice.
First, we should resolve, each and every one of us, and also collectively, that as elected persons, we as senators shall not, directly or indirectly, secretly or openly, aid and abet unemployed or semi-employed people and arm them to disrupt election. we are in a haste to pass the Electoral Act. And we shot ourselves in the foot by removing senators, members of the House of Representatives, governors, and the deputy governors, state assemblies, elected officials from being members of the delegates.
Akpabio applauded the ongoing improvements in Nigeria's electoral system and called for continued reforms to enhance transparency and public trust in the electoral process.
Because after this, public hearing will be held, and Nigerians will now from today should prepare to come before the committee during the public hearing to make their contributions and their input so that at the end of it, we'll have a document or a law that will guide the election, ensure transparency, accountability, so that the next election will truly reflect the feelings or the choice of the people of Nigeria.
The burden of proof in electoral matters, Mr. President, must shift to Inec. That is where it rightly and properly belongs. We should not subject it to the normal evidential rule that says he who alleges must prove. How can you prove something you don't even know? To move fast to make sure that all these technologies, as we are voting, people are reporting back. People are having back the results so that electronic voting. So nobody will complain because APC will not complain, PDP will not complain, Labour Party will not complain. So everybody will be on equal basis.
The bill was thereafter referred to the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters for further deliberation and a public hearing, after which the committee was directed to report back within 2 weeks. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has expressed its readiness and commitment to conduct a transparent, credible, free and fair governorship election in Anambra State on November 8, 2025. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education for the Commission, Sam Olumeku, stated this in an address presented during a one-day interactive session with media executives, reporters, producers, and on-air personalities ahead of the election in the state. Olumeku, who was represented by Wilfred Efoga, noted that democracy can only be fortified through credible information and responsible communication. The National Commissioner announced a week-long readiness assessment visit to Anambra State, featuring meetings with stakeholders, a mock accreditation exercise, and a review of preparations. Olumeku disclosed that permanent voter cards from continuous voter registration exercise are ready for collection from October 22nd to 26th, 2025, and urged registrants to collect their PVCs in person. The newly appointed chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Josh Amupiton, will be holding his inaugural meeting with directors of the commission immediately after his official swearing-in scheduled for later today. According to a statement issued by the Deputy Director of Publicity, Wilfred Efoga, on behalf of the Director, Voter Education and Publicity, the meeting will take place at the conference hall of the INEC headquarters, Abuja, at 1:30 p.m. The meeting is expected to be Professor Amupiton's first official engagement with the Commission's top bureaucrats following his assumption of office. He will use the opportunity to set the tone for his leadership direction and immediate priorities as INEC prepares for upcoming electoral activities across the country. At the just concluded Southeast Business and Investment Summit in Abuja, political and youth leaders emphasized the need to connect economic revival with political inclusiveness and reform. Speakers said sustainable investment and growth in the region will depend on strong governance, electoral transparency, and unity. Correspondent Chimezie Nzedema reports.
The summit, which brought together policymakers, entrepreneurs, and political figures, focused on unlocking the Southeast economic potential through private sector partnership and government accountability. Among those who spoke was Comrade Eze Onyebuchi, ABGA's national youth leader and candidate in the upcoming AMAC election, who weighed in on the appointment of the new Inec chairman.
He's a lawyer. I believe he knows what it means to keep to the rules. So I trust in his capacity. I believe in his ability. Looking at the trajectory of what he has done in the past, I believe that he's going to make a difference. So I don't have any fear of rigging or any fear of not having a free and fair election. Our problem in this country is not tribe nor religion. I have come to show a difference. I'm here to work. The problem that we'll have is inability of people from all religions or all tribes to do the right thing. So if we can have someone who is ready to do the right thing, whether he's from your religion or not, everyone will enjoy it.
Also speaking at the summit, Jude C. Ezenwanfor, PDP governorship candidate, said the objective of SEBIS 2.0 aligned with his own economic blueprint, particularly his plan to boost trade infrastructure in the Southeast. He revealed his intention to push for the establishment of a seaport in Anambra State, arguing that the region remains the commercial hub of eastern Nigeria and a vital gateway for Western African trade.
SEBIS, they are trying to re-energize the business acumen of the Southeast. And that tallies totally with my manifesto and agenda for the Anambra. I intend bringing in the seaport in Anambra State, because Anambra State remains the major business hub east of the Niger, not only east of the Niger, west of the Africa.
For participants, SEBIS 2.0 was not just another conference, but a call for action to harmonize policy, politics, and enterprise in redefining the economic future of the Southeast. In Abuja, Chimize Izedima reporting for Signature TV News.
As the world intensifies efforts towards ending poverty in all its forms, the Institute for Development Studies, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, has brought stakeholders together to deepen conversations and chart actionable paths toward poverty eradication. The event, held at the Mandela Hall of the Golden Royal Hotels, Enugu, formed part of activities marking the United Nations International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Correspondent Raymond Ken Mbata reports.
The 2025 Annual Colloquium on Poverty, organized by the Institute for Development Studies, provided a platform for scholars, development partners, and policymakers to exchange ideas under the theme, Working Together to End Poverty. Setting the stage for discussions was the director of the Institute for Development Studies, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, Professor Ben Nwosu, who lamented the level of poverty in the country despite the country's abundant resources. Professor Nwosu therefore underscored the need for synergy and commitment among stakeholders to effectively tackle poverty and its root causes.
On why we are here today, we have gathered to address the question of poverty, which dominates development research and governance concern across the world. The challenges of poverty made the United Nations to declare the 17th of October every year as the World Poverty Eradication Day since 1992. It is a day to raise awareness and promote understanding of poverty in all its forms, reinforce global progress against the phenomenon, as well as reflect on the resilience of people living in poverty.
The head of programs at Action Aid Nigeria, Celestine Odo, expressed concern that poverty remains a major challenge in the 21st century despite global advancement. He emphasized that Action Aid continues to champion a human rights-based approach to development in 70 countries, pushing governments to prioritize poverty reduction.
Action Aid Nigeria is a member of Action Aid Federation, a global movement of people utilizing the human rights-based approach. to eradicate poverty and engender social transformation across the world. We have footprints in about 70 countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, and the America. We work with people living in poverty, the poor, and the excluded. We started operation in Nigeria since 2000, and we work across the 6 geopolitical zones in the area of governance, women's rights, humanitarian, and so on.
Delivering the keynote address, Dr. Friday Ohuche, the chief economic advisor to the Abia State governor, dissected the reasons why many anti-poverty policies in Nigeria underperform. He cited corruption, poor policy implementation, and the failure of education as a transformative tool.
Now, there is a term we often use. We say eradicate poverty. Poverty may never be eradicated because no country has completely put poverty apart. Even in America, there are still some poor people, although relatively defined. But poverty can be reduced to the point that it no longer poses danger to economic stability. It no longer poses danger to social stability. And I think that is the realistic goal we are pursuing.
Participants at the event also shared perspectives on how collaborative governance, citizen participation, and accountability can help change the poverty narrative in Nigeria.
I think that is apt. I think that this is the time because Nigeria has been described as the poverty capital of the world. Nigeria, the statistics are not too rosy. More than 70% of Nigerians are said to be making less than $1.05 on a daily basis. And then the entire statistics from everywhere is not good. And that's why I say that this colloquium is apt, and it will help to put some document, some fact-check document in front of governments to guide what they are doing about poverty alleviation.
It's an institute dedicated to development research. Poverty is a major issue of development. We have adopted this day as one in which we have our annual flagship event, which is World Poverty Eradication Day. We annually hold it like this to explore issues of poverty both globally and within our local context, Nigeria.
Current economic model whereby gradually all manners of subsidies are being removed, without proper framework to ensure, to ensure a kind of cushion for the people is not there. So that is not a good approach. Secondly, is also the increasing allocation to different sectors over time. Last year we had a public expenditure at the federal level of 27-point-something trillion. This year, 2025, we are 54-point-something trillion. So you can see, but at the same time, within this period, poverty is on the increase. So it's rethinking our allocation pattern. Are public expenditures really speaking to the needs of the people? The answer is no, because if it's really speaking to the needs of the people, poverty should have been decreasing.
The way out for them to alleviate themselves, they could go for petty trading. Okay? Somebody like me could help somebody to improve himself or herself with petty trading. The problem is that a lot of us are very lazy. People are lazy, begging, moving about without trying to help themselves. So I know that from today's enlightenment that people will sit up and help themselves.
A panel discussion on governance, democracy, and the poverty paradox featured insightful contributions from Chika Mba, Cromwell Chibuzo, Nnamdi Odor Esima, Celestine Odor, and Professor Ike Obi, and was moderated by the president of Signature TV, Vin Martin Ilo. The forum ended with a call on governments at all levels, development agencies, and civil society organizations to move beyond rhetoric and adopt inclusive policies that leave no one behind. From Enugu, Raymond Ken Mbata for Signature TV News.
The federal government has launched a new grassroots economic plan aimed at identifying and developing economic opportunities in all 8,809 wards across Nigeria, a key step towards achieving federal government's target of building a trillion naira economy by 2030. President Tinubu announced the initiative on Wednesday at the 2025 Annual Directors Conference of the Chartered Institute of Directors in Abuja, where he was represented by the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu. According to the President, the program will be driven by data, local enterprise, and inclusive partnerships designed to bring economic activity closer to the people. He explained that the grassroots mapping would form a central part of the forthcoming 2026-2027 medium-term economic plan, designed in a bottom-up manner to ensure alignment between local, state, and national priorities. The President said the strategy reflects his administration's commitment to inclusive and sustainable growth, noting that economic empowerment must begin at the community level. Vice President Kashim Shettima, through his aide Stanley Nkwocha, noted that the development plan will not be drawn from the ivory towers of Abuja alone, stressing that it will involve consultations with state and local governments, the private sector, civil society, labor, youth, and traditional institutions. The federal government has approved the release of 32 billion naira through the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, marking the third round of disbursements in 2025. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Patti, who announced this in a statement, urged citizens to actively participate in ensuring that funds are used effectively to strengthen primary health care across the nation. Pate, who said the money which has been sitting in Abuja has begun its journey into the commercial bank accounts of primary health care facilities in every ward across Nigeria. The minister noted that every facility holds the power to plan and spend, working hand in hand with the community it serves. He urged citizens to actively participate in local health governance, take ownership, engage in health facilities and committees, review plans, demand transparency, celebrate achievements, and ensure that the funds effectively protect the health of their communities. Still to come, NCDC confirms 13 new Lassa fever cases, 4 deaths. 147 stranded Nigerians returned from Libya, says NEMA. Details in a moment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has reported 13 new confirmed cases of Lassa fever within the 40th epidemiological week, covering September 29th to October 5th, 2025. In its latest situation report, shared on the Commission's official X handle, the NCDC said the new infections were recorded in Ondo and Edo states, 2 of the hardest hit areas since the beginning of the year. The updates showed that the country has now recorded a total of 924 confirmed cases and 172 deaths across 21 states and 106 local government areas in 2025, with the case fatality rate currently standing at 18.6%, reflecting an increase from 17.0% recorded in the same period of 2024. According to the data, 117 new suspected cases were reported during the week, bringing the total number of suspected cases for the year to 8,041. The NCDC explained that over 90% of all confirmed cases so far have been reported from Ondo, Bauchi, Edo, Taraba, and Ebonyi states, which continue to be the epicenters of the outbreak. The federal government has urged the Petroleum Training Institute, Efurun, Delta State, to spearhead the development of skilled manpower required to drive Nigeria's oil and gas reforms and prepare the country for the global energy transition. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Nicholas Ella, delivered the charge at the opening of the 2025 International Conference on Hydrocarbon Science and Technology, organized by the Institute. Ella, who represented both the Minister of State for Petroleum, Senator Henikin Lopobiri, and the Minister of State for Petroleum, Gas, Ekperikpe Ekpo, said the world was rapidly shifting toward cleaner energy and that Nigeria must not be left behind. He noted that developing technical expertise in areas such as gas valorization, hydrogen energy, and carbon capture was critical for the nation's energy future. The PAMSEC highlighted positive trends in the oil sector, citing an increase in crude production to between 1.7 and 1.8 million barrels per day, and a rise in active drilling rigs from 31 to 50 within 7 months of 2025, and attributed the progress to ongoing reforms under the PIA and initiatives. The Gombe State Police Command has arrested a 15-year-old boy, Abubakar Aliyu, for allegedly carrying out a series of armed robberies and burglaries within the federal low-cost area of Gombe Metropolis. Police spokesperson Buhari Abdullahi, who disclosed this in a statement, noted that the suspect, a resident of Tudunwada Shamaki quarters, was apprehended following investigations into a robbery incident reported on October 15, 2025. According to Abdullahi, a female victim had reported that an intruder, armed with a knife, broke into her residence around 2:30 a.m. and carted away several items, including an iPhone 13 Pro Max, an Apple MacBook laptop, an Apple Watch, an Oraimo power bank, and a pink school bag, all valued at over 1.1 million naira. Abdullahi stated that following the report, operatives from the Divisional Police Headquarters immediately swung into action, leading to the arrest of the suspect and recovery of all the stolen items. He added that the suspect confessed to the crime and further admitted to participating in another burglary on October 8th, alongside an accomplice identified as Hadi, who is currently at large. Niger State Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago has vowed not to pay ransom or negotiate with bandits responsible for the recent wave of attacks across the state. The governor made the declaration during a condolence visit to communities in Rijao and Magama local government areas, which were recently attacked by gunmen in Kotangora axis. Bago urged residents to rise and defend themselves, insisting that paying ransom would only embolden the criminals and fuel further insecurity. The governor, who maintained that the Constitution empowers citizens to protect their lives and property, said his administration would take every lawful step to ensure their safety. As part of new security measures, Bago announced plans to recruit and train 10,000 members for a joint task force to support security agencies, and declared a total ban on mining activities, identifying illegal mining as one of the key drivers of banditry. The River State Governor, Similai Fubara, says the administration is committed to repositioning the state to assume its true position as the Garden City. Governor Fubara gave the assurance while inspecting the proposed alternative dump site, a disused borough pit in Iguruta, Ikwere local government area, identified for development into a modern waste management facility. The governor announced plans to permanently relocate major dump sites from key entry points to the state to more suitable locations that meet environmental safety standards.
We already know the situation that we're facing along the, I think, Guber Road. The kind of environmental hazard that we're facing there, the smell on that, and being the entrance into the state, we felt it's not proper. So we're making alternative arrangements to that so that we can have a permanent place where we can start dropping our refuse. It is also proper, whichever one that is done rightly, you continue with it. So I felt I should come and see the level of work that is ongoing here. We already know the situation that we're facing along the, I think, Guber Road. The kind of environmental hazard that we're facing there, the smell on that, and being the entrance into the state, we felt it's not proper. So we're making alternative arrangements to that so that we can have a permanent place where we can start dropping our refuse. It is also proper, whichever one that is done rightly, you continue with it. So I felt I should come and see the level of work that is ongoing here.
Governor Guber also stopped over to inspect ongoing construction work at the Permanent Secretary's quarters in Elimbu Obiakpo local government area to reaffirm his administration's resolve to enhance the living condition of public officers.
I've not concluded the issue of the borough pit because you can hear where I was discussing with them. But the road, access road to this borough pit, I think the government is doing something about it. So we'll make sure that everything that needs to be done to make sure that government owns this borough pit is done. I believe that the chief is willing to support us.
We are willing.
Is willing to support us. I can see his participation even in the road construction. And I need to say this. I think from what I'm seeing from Rewama, I think they are very, very serious to make an impact in the issue of refuse in the state.
A legal practitioner, Nnadume Ofokansi, says the recent hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest is a broader outcry about injustice in the country. Speaking as a guest on Signature Morning, Ofokansi said the protest transcends the immediate call for Nnamdi Kanu's release, noting that it reflects widespread frustration over systemic injustice and government insensitivity.
I see it as, protest against injustice, because this is a cumulative thing that has begun over and over the years, even from Buhari era. Because whatever Tinubu has done is what the federal government has done. You don't say Tinubu is not a private person anymore. He's the president of Nigeria, whether you like it or not. Now, they went and had a meeting with known bandits that have sacked villages in the north, that have already taken over a lot of local governments in the north, collecting taxes from local inhabitants, killing people at random, sacking villages. They called them for a peace meeting. And when they were coming for this meeting, they came with all their military paraphernalia, military camouflage, their guns, their bullets, their AK-47 assault rifle, their rocket launchers, and multi-purpose machine gun. Somebody who is coming for peace meeting. And Nigerian soldiers and Nigerian police were looking at them. Now, it was like if people were trying to say, okay, no problem, let's see how it plays out. After the peace meeting, the bandits went back and started sacking villages still, people who came for peace meeting. Now, as if that was not enough, just about 3 weeks ago, thereabout, the federal government now pardoned about 175 convicted felons, people who were condemned to death for killing people, people who were armed robbers, about something drug barons. The federal government now told them, go, I have given you freedom. Remember, the Boko Haram people, when they arrest them, They organize a kind of party for them, say they are training them, they are integrating them into the society, give them bags of rice, sew uniform for them, keep them in a shelter. And then, after about 2 or 3 months, they tell them, you are now free, you are now repentant. You can.
He pointed out that the October 20th protest date coincided with the 5th anniversary of the alleged Lekki Toll Gate massacre during the #EndSARS demonstrations, a connection he believes amplified the emotional and national significance of the protest. Afokansi also condemned the government's response, particularly the use of tear gas on demonstrators, and drew a parallel with the #Occupy Nigeria protests during the regime of President Goodluck Jonathan, when former President Muhammadu Buhari and Bayo Onanuga took part in the protests.
In 2012 and 2014, they embarrassed Jonathan. They occupied Nigeria 2012. Buhari, Tinubu, Soyinka, Tunde Bakare, name them, including this Bayo Onanuga, who is writing all this rubbish now on Twitter. So they were the people who marched and occupied Lagos for 1 week, because this man moved fuel from 65 naira to 75 naira or so. They said they must take it back to 65 naira. Good luck, Jonathan. Jonathan took it back to 65 naira. And that is the listening president. And Jonathan never brought tear gas. He never brought military. He never brought police. Not that he doesn't know he has some power, but he knows it is a civil, non-violent protest. So he should allow people to. And it was because the protests were done that he now knows that people doesn't like removal of oil subsidy, that people don't like the increase in fuel price. So he had to go back. But is it not the same fuel today that we are now buying for at least close to 1,000 naira? And the people who did this protest, apart from Buhari, they are still alive and they are all kept quiet.
The legal practitioner emphasized that peaceful protests remain a constitutional right, urging authorities to engage with citizens to feel their concerns rather than suppress their agitation. The Enugu State government has intensified its clampdown on criminal hideouts and structures linked to illicit activities across the state. The latest action was the demolition of a bungalow at Umweze Okunano in Nkanu West local government area, allegedly used as a detention camp by a notorious kidnapping gang. Correspondent Chinemerem Ikebunam reports that the action is part of Governor Peter Mba's commitment to ridding the state of crime and restoring peace to local communities.
The Enugu State government on Tuesday brought down yet another building linked to criminal activities. The bungalow at Umweze Okunano in Nkanu West local government area is said to have served as a base for kidnapping syndicates. Security operatives recently stormed the building, rescuing a kidnapped victim, while the prime suspect, identified as Igwenagu Obodo, and members of his gang fled the scene with gunshot wounds. Speaking during the demolition exercise, the chairman of Nkanu West local government area, John Obodo, said the operation and discussed the government's resolve to enforce the state anti-kidnapping law, which empowers authorities to demolish any property used in committing crime.
I just got this information yesterday night, but before then, they kidnapped someone and brought that person to this house. The man was rescued, his vehicle recovered, and a lot of arms were recovered from this place. So we really thank God for this particular the government has demonstrated. Every community should be very mindful of people around them.
Obodo, who noted that the demolition will serve as a deterrent to other criminals, maintained that with the governor's investment in modern security technology, there would be no hiding place for offenders in Enugu State. Community members who witnessed the demolition described the suspect as an ex-convict known for terrorizing residents. They applauded the government's decisive action and called for sustained effort to keep the area safe.
Because any young boy who doesn't want to work to get money is want to steal or kidnapping. Oh my own, if to say that they can let them fire the boy, now kidnapping, let them fire the young guy.
In this boy, not to continue with this type of attitude. but he refused. See the result now. Last time, he came back from prison. They released him from prison.
They also commended Governor Peter Mba for equipping security agencies with logistics needed to execute such tough measures in the fight against kidnapping and other violent crimes. The councillor representing the ward, Uchenna Jidofo, described the demolition as a welcome development, noting that he sends a strong message that crime will no longer be tolerated in Umuezo Konano or anywhere in Enugu State.
And each time they came back to the community, we started witnessing a lot of insecurity. It's a very big lesson to others, so that if you are involving yourself in any crime, you will know that government will just take serious action on you.
The renewed enforcement drive reflects the administration's broader security reform, which combines intelligence, community policing, and legal enforcement. Authorities are urging residents to support ongoing operations by reporting suspicious movements in their communities. From Umuezo Konano in Nkanu West Local Government Area, Chinemere Mikewunam, Signature TV News.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said on Wednesday that the country has deployed over 5,000 Igla-S air defense systems across strategic positions nationwide, emphasizing their role in safeguarding Venezuela's peace and stability. During a televised event alongside government officials, Maduro highlighted the significance of the Igla-S systems, stating that Venezuela has deployed no fewer than 5,000 Igla-S in key air defense positions to ensure the peace, stability, and tranquility of the people.
Every military force in the world is aware of the power of the Iglo-S, and Venezuela has deployed no fewer than 5,000 Iglo-S in key air defense positions to ensure the peace, stability, and tranquility of its people. More than 5,000. Those who understand, understand. This simulation equipment puts us in a position for good aim with thousands of Iglo-S operators that we have in every mountain, every village, every city that you can imagine in Venezuelan territory, from north to south, from east to west, which must be an impregnable homeland. Let no one mess with Venezuela, because we don't mess with anyone.
Maduro has denied any involvement in drug trafficking and condemned the U.S. strikes as violations of Venezuelan sovereignty. His comments came in a context where the U.S. has escalated its military operations targeting alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean and Pacific. The strikes in the Caribbean have killed at least 32 people, but the Trump administration has provided few details, such as how many alleged drugs the targeted vessels were carrying, or what specific evidence it had to suggest they were carrying drugs. The leader of the European People's Party, EPP, Manfred Weber, hailed the new United States sanctions against Russia as good news on Thursday, as European Union leaders met in Brussels for a summit.
We have good news from America. Donald Trump is activating sanctions against Russia. So also Donald Trump understood that a peaceful cooperation with this aggressive Putin is not possible. And I also have to clarify that all populists all over Europe who are asking us to do more diplomatic efforts to achieve peace are obviously not right, because Putin has no interest to create peace. There is no Budapest peace summit, but there are now sanctions from Donald Trump against Putin. That's a political reality, and that means we are stronger now as Europeans together with the Americans in defending our European way of life together with the Ukrainians. Trump did really everything to please Putin and to offer him a lot. And the answer was more bombing against Kiev and even attacks against Estonia and Poland. That is what we saw during summer and after summer. That's why the true faith is now obvious for everyone. And who still believes that we can please Putin and we can be, with more diplomatic efforts, more active with him, are naive. That's the reality on the ground.
The United States hit Russia's major oil companies with sanctions on Wednesday and accused the Russians of a lack of commitment towards ending the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, EU countries on Thursday formally adopted a 19th package of sanctions against Russia for its war against Ukraine that includes a ban on Russian liquefied natural gas imports. The 27 member states had already approved the package on Wednesday, on Wednesday evening after Slovakia dropped its block. The LNG ban will take effect in 2 stages. Short-term contracts will end after 6 months, and long-term contracts from January 1st, 2027. The full ban comes a year earlier than the Commission's roadmap to end the bloc's reliance on Russian fossil fuels. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said the ban on LNG imports is an important step towards a complete phasing out of Russian energy in the EU. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the reported arrival of federal agents in the Bay Area absolutely predictable during a press conference in Stockton, California on Wednesday.
We're going to be fierce in terms of our response. We're going to be focused, and quite literally, this is the lawsuit that I will file within a nanosecond of any efforts to send the military to one of America's great cities, San Francisco, that is enjoying 60% reduction in homicide, or rather homicide reduction that's the lowest it's been in 60 years. It's one of the safest large cities in this country that's experienced an economic rebirth and growth. Only Donald Trump can wreck that. And we will push back with clarity and conviction, and we'll continue to win in court. We are now days away from eliminating food to 5.5 million Californians around Thanksgiving, at a time when food prices have never been higher because of Donald Trump's policies. Have you had a cup of coffee? Have you bought a pound of beef? At the same time, he found $20 billion to send to a fill in the blank. Maybe he's a dictator. Some have referred to him as that. In Argentina, he's cutting food to people around Thanksgiving. You've seen the lines of people already around the food banks. So we are fast tracking an $80 million investment. We're front loading it to get them to food banks. And we're using the framework that we established during COVID to build out our capacity to deliver quickly food to those in need around Thanksgiving by using Cal Volunteers and the National Guard, which is exactly what we did to distribute 800 million meals during COVID.
The San Francisco Chronicle reported on Wednesday that the Trump administration would send 100 federal agents, including from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, to the city to ramp up enforcement, citing an unnamed source. Newsom also addressed the ongoing effects of the government shutdown and how it's affecting some 5.5 million SNAP benefits recipients in California. Equipped with signs and drums, New Yorkers protested recent ICE activity on Wednesday, a day after a high-profile raid targeted Manhattan street vendors.
I've been coming to demonstrations on and off because concerned around ICE coming to town. I've lived in neighborhoods where immigrants have lived for a long, long time. I've been organizing in Brooklyn, so I think it's just important to kind of build some momentum, especially after yesterday, that we have some rapid response teams ready for when there's more of these activities so the neighborhood can show up. But it's been terrifying to see people going to Chicago, into Portland, into LA. We invariably knew it would come here, but we're really trying to respond to it because it's very frightening. Who's getting taken? Who's getting arrested? You know, it seems indiscriminate, really, other than as people of color.
You know, it's what's happening is wrong, and you know, I feel compelled to do something about it. I'm in a position where I'm probably not going to get snatched, and so that means I have a responsibility to stand up for people that maybe are not, don't have the wherewithal to do that for themselves.
Things have changed and deteriorated very rapidly in this country, just really in a matter of months. So that gives me belief and hope that things can change in another direction just as quickly.
Morons, hypocrites, disgusting human beings, disgusting, get their faces, look at them. A white lady, look at that, look at that. Look at that, look at this. They got nothing better to do than to preach hate towards America and New York City. We have Trump, Look at this, look at this, just look at it.
Canal Street raid came after at least 2 prominent pro-Trump influencers posted videos in recent weeks focusing on African immigrants selling goods along the busy thoroughfare. One of the influencers, Savannah Hernandez, said in an October 19th post on X that African immigrants without legal status were operating a black market there and urged ICE to visit the area and arrest the vendors. President Donald Trump, a Republican, has launched an aggressive immigration crackdown in major U.S. cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. Protesters in the cities have used phones to record ICE operations, which critics say have employed racial profiling and swept up many immigrants with no criminal records. The immigration raid on New York City's Canal Street, a prominent shopping area known for bargain prices and imitation goods, triggered pushback in the streets from residents in the vicinity. And that's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Thanks for watching.